Hello, ladies and gentlemen of District 31. My name is Daniel DiNardo. I'm standing for election to the House of Representatives for the state of Alaska. I think it's important on this conversation to address a very prominent issue that's in the news that's creating a lot of deep concern, and rightly so. And that is this so-called subprime mortgage crisis, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Let me tell you something. This is all an unconstitutional financial global fraud. And what they're trying to do is take back all the titles to property, including of your house, anybody with a mortgage on it, and anybody without a mortgage on it. It's irrelevant, because the international financial system, under a diabolical body of law, they call it the International Law Merchant. Really, it's nothing but criminal business practice. It's not law as a matter of fact or history, but it's just contrived business practices. They're taking back all the titles to property. And that's why they control Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who've underwritten trillions of dollars worth of home mortgages on people's real property rights that they have under the Constitution and Declaration of Independence as inalienable rights. Now, under the common law, every 50 years, all property, all alloidial rights, you don't ever hear that word alloidial. That means total ownership, not mere title, which is nothing but a feudalistic term, but alloidial rights and property revert back to their original owners, free of any so-called tax liens, free of any mortgages, free of any type of paperwork by third parties asserting an interest in that property. So what the Federal Reserve is doing through the Bank of International Settlements is beating everybody to the punch by taking all that property under their control and domination, after having lended nothing but an accounting entry on the books of the banks. That's how fraudulent it is. They never loaned you any money. They never loaned you, they didn't even loan you cash and Federal Reserve notes. All they loaned you are accounting entries that are created to the stroke of a pen on the internationally controlled, through the Bank of International Settlements, internationally controlled banking structure. There is no such thing as a U.S. Federal Reserve. There is no such thing as a Soviet Federal Reserve or a Communist China Federal Reserve or the Bundesbank Federal Reserve. All of those reserves are nothing but commercial warehouses. They're clearing houses for the financial instruments created by and through the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland. Unknown to you, but every month, every Federal Reserve chairman in the world makes a trip to the Basel, Switzerland, to take their walking orders and their commands from the Communist, Zionist, National Socialist controlled Bank of International Settlements. Now, I mentioned before the Bank of International Settlements was in fact established to handle the international payment plan through the Versailles Treaty that ended World War I. And one of the three creators was Hjalmar Schacht, a Zionist and Hitler's Reichsbank minister. So that tells you the interrelationships of Zionism, Communism, and National Socialism. They are all in fact one, and they trace their manipulative practices right back to Babylon. It's very simple. It's the fraud of accountancy, but enforced through military might, subterfuge, and the Communist International. Because the Communist International actually runs all three organizations, the Zionist, Communist, and National Socialist. And that's where Lenin said the foundation of communism is socialism. Why do you think Adolf Hitler called his movement the National Socialist, i.e. the Nazi Party? Because they were all, from its inception, all one organized corporate affair to draw the world into a world war, to further the Luciferian diabolical plan that's in conflict with the Trinity. That's why you can't talk about the law, finances, or history without talking about God's plan specifically and definitely prophetically outlined in the book of Revelation of Holy Writ. So this is why when you hear me discuss these issues, you always are going to have a broad background and a knowledge and to basically surrender your prejudices as you hear me speak and listen to what I'm trying to say, because you can verify it through your own research if you take the time to do so. I've done the research. Bob Lynn hasn't done the research. This Miss Patty Freeman, the other Democratic Communist Party member who's running for office. Now, I'm the only one standing for election. They're all running. They're in the shadows. They're dodging, running, jumping. They don't want to talk to you about the real issues, and neither do they want to debate me in the public forum, because they know I'll knock them out in about 2 minutes. They don't know anything. They're just nothing but Communist Party members acting through the corporate party system that has destroyed this country and led to the murder of one of the greatest presidents and leaders of all time in history, John F. Kennedy, and also his brother Robert. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to immediately take up another YouTube presentation where I'm going to get a little more deeper into the subprime so-called crisis with Fannie Mae. And I have a very interesting facts to give you about our ex-governor. I call her ex-governor because she's really not the governor of Alaska at all. She has a higher objective right now to become more involved in the Communist Republican corporate party. She has no interest in Alaska. She's been a hypocrite ever since she's been in so-called public office. All she is a cheerleader from Wasilla, and now she's getting involved in her absolutely ridiculous statements regarding Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But I'm going to take that up in the next presentation, and I thank you for listening, and I always mean to challenge you. Thank you.